Hi everyone, it's James Egersdorff here previewing Gameweek 3 of the Fantasy Premier League. Gameweek 2 is just behind us and I think I'm pretty pleased with the start to the season I've had. It could have been a bit better, so I didn't captain Aguero this week, unfortunately. I'll come to that in a minute, but I still got 81 points. I had Salah captain, the people doing the damage, Sadio Mane, another really good score, Mendy at City looks absolutely fantastic. What a player he looks from an FPL perspective. And an old FPL mate of mine, Troy Deeney, came good. I don't think punt is the right word, but I took a calculated risk. He'd flown well under the radar in pre-season. I had some pretty good reasons for wanting to bring him in. Those reasons being Watford have 4 of the first 5 of their matches at home because of the Spurs Wembley new stadium problem. They switched that fixture around, and also if you've read any of the stuff that Troy had come out with in the press over the summer, he was talking about how sharp he felt. He'd had a full pre-season, whereas last season he'd had quite a few injuries, and he was feeling that Watford had been unruly, unfairly, I should say, criticised by pundits, and they were tipped for the drop, and lo and behold, Watford are sitting towards the top of the league now, 2 wins from 2. So I'd taken a bit of a calculated risk on giving Deeney a run, and fortunately so far it's paid off. So where does that leave me? That puts me on 158 points, just inside the top 250k. So 2 game weeks in, I carried the transfer as well, so I've got 2 transfers now for game week 3. I'm pretty pleased with that platform. That's a pretty good start. I do have work to do with my team though, so I've got people like Jota not doing very well at Wolves. He got subbed off. I've got Ozil, who I've criticised in the past, and I just thought his attitude would improve given all the stuff with the international scenario and all the criticism he'd received there. I thought he'd let his feet do the talking on the pitch, and he got one of the worst reviews out of the whole Arsenal team on Sunday morning in the paper for his performance at Chelsea, and he got hooked after about 60-70 minutes as well. So they're probably the 2 guys in the firing line this week, and a bit of work to do there. So game week 2, for me, no real major shocks when you look down that list of results. I'm talking here about the results, more so the performances. The only real shock is when you see West Ham 1, Bournemouth 2. I don't think there'd have been many people who'd have had Bournemouth to win in their accumulator. Bit of a worry for West Ham. They've got some tricky fixtures coming up. They're away at Arsenal this week. Nice for the Arnautovic owners that he got a goal, and great to see that he's on penalties, but they do look a bit disjointed. They do look exactly what they are, which is a new team full of new players and a new manager and new system and all that stuff. So a bit of a worry there. They look a bit ropey at the back, and as I say, Arsenal away, not an easy game. Arsenal themselves, and I put Chelsea into this category as well, they're very much a work in progress. Chelsea seem to have been able to embrace Thierry's methods a bit better than Arsenal have embraced Emery's methods. I think Chelsea had the advantage in a really roundabout way. They had that Community Shield match where they were pretty god-awful, but it feels that was a bit of a free hit for them, that it wasn't a friendly insofar as it was a kind of competitive game in front of a big crowd, and they have hit the ground running a bit better. I know Arsenal have had two tough games, but both those teams now have some good fixtures to try and get a bit of rhythm. So I've got a couple of their guys on the radar. So we're talking Mkhitaryan, Alonso, Pedro, maybe Kante, but I think that's more of a wait and see. But I do feel if you're heading that way this week, that could be a good direction to look at making your transfer. I also do, and I have always loved Aaron Ramsey as an FPL option. I think he looks brilliant. Sad thing with poor old Aaron, he gets a lot of muscle injuries, isn't guaranteed to play every week, so that does give you a headache from an FPL point of view. But sometimes, and over the years, I've caught him at the right time where he's gone on a little run, 3 or 4 weeks, giving me a whole load of points, and then got injured again, but giving me some points to play with. It didn't surprise me to see Man United beaten at Brighton. What did surprise me was the way that they went down, really without a fight. we saw a lot of the problems brewing in pre-season, so the way Mourinho handled the Martial situation when he had to leave the tour because of his pregnant wife, and just some of the other things that have come out, this spat that seems to be happening in the press about these lack of signings. I had my eye on Sanchez in pre-season and I avoided him for the reasons that I was just a bit uncertain about Man United, and it's interesting that Luke Shaw, who I did fly in and put in my team at the very last minute, the day before the season started, he has returned some points, but not to do with the Man United clean sheet machine that we got used to last season. United have obviously had no clean sheets, and I did feel, going back to that Leicester game in the first game, we were actually lucky to only concede one. They could have conceded more. So Shaw has returned points, but it's through goals and assists, not through clean sheets. So interesting to see what's going to happen there with Man United. I wasn't personally surprised to see Watford go to Burnley and get a result. I know lots of people looked at that and thought, oh, that's interesting. I think the fact they got 3, yeah, that was a surprise. But known from experience as being, as some of you might know, I'm a big Blackburn fan, and it doesn't seem that long ago, but it was probably about 10 years ago. Blackburn were in, I think it wasn't called the Europa, whatever it was called, under Mark Hughes, and we had a very similar challenge. We had a very small squad. It was one of those first 11s that you could pretty much name the same every week. I'm talking the days of Savage, Two-Guy, Santa Cruz, Ryan Nelson, Chris Samba, Brad Friedel, that sort of era. And we would play on a Thursday, and you'd turn up at Ewood to watch the game on Sunday, and the guys would just be tired. They'd be knackered after about an hour, and it was like the same being lived out again for Burnley. They just ran out of gas, it looked to me, and Watford capitalised on that and were able to get the win. So I wasn't too surprised with that result there. Into game week 3 then, and looking at the fixtures again, there's not a whole load of fixtures that are cropping up for me thinking, oh, there's going to be a big upset. I mean, City go to Wolves, you'd expect them to win. Liverpool Brighton, you'd expect Liverpool to win. Bournemouth Everton, I think Bournemouth will give them a fight, but I think Everton have enough quality to get through that one. You'd expect Arsenal to get going against West Ham. You'd expect Chelsea to keep going against Newcastle. But the ones that I've picked out, it could be a real opportunity for Southampton. They're playing Leicester, who don't have Jamie Vardy, but I'll come to Leicester in a bit. That could give them an opportunity to get their season up and running. I think Fulham playing Burnley at Craven Cottage is a huge opportunity for them. I did think they were a bit unlucky against Palace. They made a lot of chances. I didn't tip them to get a result, but I said it wouldn't surprise me if they got a result at Spurs. And I think what we got for probably the best part of 70-something minutes there was a good Fulham performance. They got back in the game. Mitrovic had a big chance. He got played through on goal by Camara, a little sort of back heel flick, and he put it wide, and they had a couple of other chances, and then Kane, of course, got the third and put it to bed. But I think Fulham look to be playing okay, and Burnley on the best of form. They've got this European game coming up next week to qualify for the groups, so that could be an opportunity for them. I think the big game that sticks out like a sore thumb this week and could really shape FPL is Man United Spurs. So we've not seen too much from people like Eriksen, the Spurs defenders. Kane has done all right. He's only got 1 goal. We've not seen anything from Hazard. We've seen a little bit from Lukaku. We've not seen anything from the Man United defence other than the Shaw thing I talked about. So that game could really open up some new options for us. And I think it's really hard to call. So Kane, to my recollection, has never scored at Old Trafford. Correct me if I'm wrong. So that could be a problem. It could also be an opportunity. It could be a motivator. Man United have had a pretty unconvincing start to the season, but we saw it last year. They always roar back, or they always seem to roar back in these big games. They've got a good record at home against Spurs. Likewise, Spurs are going to be sat there saying, you know what, guys, if we're going to win this league, or if we're going to challenge for this league, or if we're going to improve, these are the games. We always seem to get beat 1-0 at Old Trafford. We need to turn up and do better. So that's going to be interesting come Tuesday morning as to the outcome of that game, because it may create some form form options for us. So that's reviews on Game Week 3. Moving on to possible transfer targets, and those of you that watched the videos last season will know that I try here to come up with something a bit of a differential. I'd rather not sit here and say to you there's some pretty great options out there, sure, but we're talking, I don't say, hey, go and pick Alonso, go and pick Maddison, go and pick Mkhitaryan. These are options. This info there's tons of info on these guys out there. I'm trying to look a bit left field for you, so I always go for a goalie, a defender, midfielder and attacker. So if you're looking at a goalie this week, I like the look of Pickford, Huddersfield, West Ham, Fulham, all at home in the next 3 games. Everton, I know that the defence hasn't settled under Silva, but he's always good for save points, Pickford. I can't see Everton going around letting in loads and loads of goals during that game, so may be at worst a steady 2-3 points sandwiched between some clean sheets. Defenders, I have my eye on this guy in pre-season, and he's flown under the radar a bit. He doesn't seem to be getting too many mentions, and he's playing every week. He's played the last 2 games on the left wing for Palace, and Palace have some great fixtures coming up. He did score in Game Week 1, and that's Jeff Schlupp. I think he's still around at 4.5, maybe he's gone up to 4.6, but what a great price for an out-of-position attacking defender. He's supported, of course, by Van Aanholt down that left side, so it's a very attractive attacking duo that they've got down that wing, so he could benefit. Midfield is an old favourite, an FPL old favourite. I thought he was brilliant on Sunday. He's got some brilliant fixtures. What attracts him to this guy is he's dropped 0.1, so you can get him for 8.4. Our old mate David Silva, real opportunity for him now. De Bruyne's not in the team. I think Pep, he did say, I remember last season saying he may try and limit Silva's game time a bit because he's getting a bit older, but the fact he's canned the international stuff, he's retired, and the fact that De Bruyne's not about, I think Pep's going to have to lean on him a little bit. But only reservation on this guy is, of course, he's got the small family challenge with his little boy. It's great to see his son able to attend the match at weekend, but that, of course, has to come first. He's a private guy, Silva, so he's not going to bounce out on social media putting a load of family updates about his kids. Why would you? So my only res is that he might just not be there one week and it might not be reported. Pep was often giving him lots of leave last season. I know the situation was different because his kid was a bit smaller and younger and so on. But that's my only reservation, is we don't quite know, is everything happy at home, and of course it's important that everything is sorted there, way more important than football. But if that's all sorted and he's able to commit to the team, he could be brilliant. Strikers, there's a guy, I pulled out 4 strikers, so I know I said I was only going to pull out 1, but I had this guy in my team in pre-season and I switched him late on, and it's a guy that I do think at some point will become a brilliant FPL option for us. He's very likely to get a run in the team. His fixtures aren't amazing. He's away at Southampton, then he plays Liverpool, and then Vardy's back. And the player I'm talking about is Iheanacho at Leicester. Brilliant track record of goal scoring when he was at City. He did have a great pre-season that went a little bit under the radar. There wasn't much talk about it. And I think he's got a big opportunity now to try and get his place in the team. Is there enough there to go and put him in your FPL team immediately? There might be some stronger options. The reason I'm mentioning Iheanacho is I'm saying more like, if you got on him now, it could be a masterstroke because he may fly and nobody else is going to have him. But the reason I said I've got some other options, I think Ings, he's got Leicester home, Palace away, Brighton home. He looks good. He scored, of course, last week for Southampton. He's a bit cheaper as well, so that's a bit of a no-brainer. Looks a bit more safe for me. Of course, Deeney, who I've got, he's got 3 home games: Palace, Tottenham, Man United. The latter 2, all right, they're not easy, but at the same time, he takes the penalties. Watford are on form, they're scoring lots of goals. The 3 home games in a row, didn't get much better than that. And finally, of course, Wilson. I know a lot of you have gone for King. I looked at King as well, obviously ex-Blackburn. and he started really well. So, yeah, I know I said Ian Hatcher, I'm talking about him as a differential. If you wanted something a bit different, maybe go and explore it yourself, go and check out the stats, see what you think on him. But you've got Ings, Deeney, Wilson, three pretty good ones there. Captains this week. Interesting, wasn't it, last week? So fair play to you. Anybody who went for Aguero, hats off. I had a coin toss between Salah and Aguero myself. I stuck with Salah, and it's funny, isn't it, how it's panned out, because Aguero was the risk and reward option. So I was talking about, I felt that Jesus needed game time. Clearly so did Pep, because Jesus got a start. The risk, of course, was whether he'd start Jesus over Aguero, but in the end, poor old Mahrez and poor old Sterling, they didn't get a start, and those two guys did. So well done if you got the 20 points doubled up to 40 as a captain. There was the risk there, but good on you for taking it. Salah, of course, I said the reason I was picking Salah was I just think he's so consistent. Lo and behold, doesn't get any goals, but still wades in with 9 points on top of his 8 last week. He's not quite hit top gear. He could have had. I only saw the second half of that Liverpool Palace game. I understand he missed a good chance early on. The stuff I saw was through on goal, hacked down by Wan-Bissaka. That could have been a goal. He had a free kick that was going in and it got deflected over by the wall. That could have easily been a goal. He had a header that was saved well by Hennessy. So, you know, in that short space of time, he could quite easily have scored. Valid point as well that somebody made, which was had Milner not played, maybe he'd have taken the penalty. I don't know, maybe not. But the point is, he still came away with 2 assists. He still got 9 points. If somebody had offered you that at the start, you'd have taken it. So for me this week, I think he keeps the armband. I think if you look at he's the amount of points he usually returns or the amount of goals, he's only got 1 goal in 2. His record last year was probably what was it? Well, he got better than that, didn't he? He was probably 1 in 1.3, 1.4. So on those stats, he's due a goal. So logically, it makes sense to keep him for the Brighton game. Your other options, Mane. Yeah, he's on form and all that good stuff, but I just think there's no need, if you've got Salah as well, there's no need to be switching around. I'd just keep it on him. Aguero's every reason to keep Aguero, but it's the same argument as last week. Yeah, it's likely he'll play, but there's always that element of doubt, isn't there, with Pep? You've got what happened with Sterling, Walker and Mahrez. They all find themselves on the bench. I'd expect him to play, but we just don't know. The only person who knows is sat a little bit down the road from me, and that's Pep himself. And lastly, Aubameyang, differential pick, hasn't scored yet, missed some sitters. We'd expect Arsenal to win against West Ham. However, talked about it, work in progress, new system. West Ham have had a bad start. They could do with shoring up the defence. You would expect Arsenal to win. Would you expect them to win 4 or 5-0? You couldn't say it's guaranteed, or you couldn't say it's probable, given the form. So if it was me, well, I am going to pick Salah. So there's your answer for that. Finally, big thank you. Some cool things happened to me this week. So 16,000 followers on Twitter. Brilliant. Thank you very much for supporting me if you're on there. Whole bunch of new subscribers to this channel. So grateful as ever for you for watching. Patreon, I wanted to just say a little thank you to all those people that are helping support me on that and making a monthly pledge. That's allowing me to invest a whole load of more time in putting together some other content that is a bit more in depth, a bit more analytical than some of the stuff we chat about here. To clarify on that, and people have been asking me what it's all about, what that platform is about, and it never will be with me. It's not about giving anybody the answers. Here's the answers, just go and do it. That is not what I believe FPL's about. FPL's about you being the manager, you having your own team. So what that Patreon stuff is helping you improve actually as a manager, so helping you fine-tune your skills, helping you understand the strategies and the different tactics that you can use to help get a more consistent score. And the reason that, one of the main reasons I don't feel people should want the answers from me is that just because my track record is favourable, I've done pretty good over the years, which is great. I'm not guaranteed a good season. I could have an absolute horrible season, so I'm there to be beaten. So you're not going to beat me if you don't bring your own ideas to the table, and that doesn't go for me. That goes for all the people out there on this brilliant content out there, some brilliant accounts. And that title, that FPL champion, that could be any one of us. There's 5 million players. You bring the right ideas to the table, and the stars align for you, and you get the results. You can win it. It doesn't matter if you played for 1 season, if you played for 12, like me. Anybody can win that. So thank you as ever for all your support. It really means a lot to me for you guys tuning in. I hope you're enjoying these videos. I will be back for Game Week 4, so I'll see you then. Have a great game week, and I'll catch you.